I was getting a haircut when the barber asked if I came here alone. The scissors stopped mid-cut, and Marcus held them suspended near my ear, his reflection in the mirror staring at me with an intensity that made my scalp prickle. The question hung in the air between us like smoke, seemingly innocent but weighted with something I couldn't identify. "Did you come here alone today?" He asked it casually, but his eyes were locked on mine in the mirror with an expression that felt like a warning. I'd walked into Precision Cuts 15 minutes earlier, desperate for a trim before my sister's wedding tomorrow. My regular barber booked solid, and this place the only shop with availability on a Saturday afternoon. "Yeah, just me," I answered, trying to keep my voice light, despite the sudden tension knotting my shoulders. Marcus nodded slowly and resumed cutting, but his movements had changed. Where before he'd been efficient and professional, now every snip felt deliberate, measured, like he was buying time. The barbershop was empty except for us, the other 2 chairs vacant and the waiting area deserted. A bell above the door would announce anyone entering, and I found myself hyper-aware of that potential sound. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead and classic rock played softly from speakers I couldn't see. Normalcy wrapping around something that felt increasingly abnormal. Marcus was maybe 50, with graying hair and forearms covered in faded tattoos that suggested a past more interesting than cutting hair in a strip mall. He'd been friendly when I'd first sat down, asking about my day and making standard small talk about the weather and weekend plans. But that question, "Did you come here alone?" had shifted everything. Now he worked in near silence, occasionally glancing toward the front windows like he was expecting someone or checking if anyone was watching. I told myself I was being paranoid, that it was just a question, but my instincts screamed that something was wrong. My phone buzzed in my pocket and Marcus's eyes flicked to it immediately. "You can check that if you need to," he said, but something in his tone suggested I shouldn't. I ignored the buzz and kept my hands visible on the armrests, suddenly aware of how vulnerable I was sitting in this chair, with a sharp object near my head and a stranger behind me. Marcus caught my eyes in the mirror again, and this time, he held the gaze for 3 full seconds before speaking. "How long have you lived in the area?" The question felt like a test, like my answer would determine something important. "About 6 years," I said truthfully. "Moved here for work, stayed for the cost of living." Marcus nodded and made a small sound of acknowledgement, then asked what I did for work. "I'm an accountant," I told him, wondering why any of this mattered for a haircut. Corporate taxes, mostly. Marcus's reflection smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's good. Stable work. You married?" The personal questions were escalating and I felt my heart rate increase. "No, I'm single. My sister's getting married tomorrow, that's why I needed the haircut." Marcus stopped cutting again, and this time he set the scissors down on the counter. He moved around to face me directly instead of working through the mirror, his body language deliberate and careful. "Listen, I need you to stay calm and keep your voice normal, but I'm going to tell you something important." My mouth went dry and I nodded, not trusting my voice. "There's a man who's been watching this shop for the last 10 minutes. He's parked across the street in a gray sedan, and he's been on his phone since you walked in here." Marcus spoke quietly but clearly, his eyes never leaving mine.